Hello students, this is Megha, and today in this video we are going to do the third part of your chapter, The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. And in this chapter, Khushwant Singh, the author, recounts his childhood days and his relationship with his grandmother. In The Portrait of a Lady, Khushwant Singh describes how he spent his childhood with her in the village, and he also describes the changes that came in their relationship in the city. अभी तक हमने यही पढ़ा था कि खुशवंत सिंह अपनी ग्रैंडमदर के साथ विलेज में कैसी लाइफ स्पेंड करता है और उनके रिलेशन में क्या चेंजेस आते हैं, क्या टर्निंग पॉइंट आता है जब वो सिटी की तरफ आते हैं. द पोर्ट्रेट ऑफ अ लेडी इज पार्ट ऑफ एन ऑटोबायोग्राफी बाय खुशवंत सिंह. In this story, the author draws a pen portrait of his grandmother and he beautifully unfolds their relationship and how it undergoes several changes. In other words, the story is a loving tribute from a grandson to his grandmother. Now, let's have a look at the remaining part of the chapter. After a few years, I came back home and met her at the station. She did not look a day older. She still had no time for words, and while she clasped me in her arms, I could hear her reciting her prayers. So, when the author returns home 5 years down the line, he is pleasantly surprised to see कि जो उनकी ग्रैंड मदर थी वो वैसी की वैसी ही थी. शी डिड नॉट लुक अ डे ओल्डर बट स्टिल शी हैड नो टाइम फॉर वर्ड्स. ग्रैंड मदर ने ऑथर को देखकर कुछ नहीं कहा, लेकिन व्हेन शी हग्ड हिम इन हर आर्म्स शी कुड द ऑथर कुड हियर हर रिसाइटिंग हर प्रेयर्स. तो ऑथर को सुन सकता था उन्हें प्रेयर रिसाइट करते हुए, मतलब शी इज स्टिल रिसाइटिंग हर प्रेयर्स. Even on the first day of my arrival, her happiest moments were with her sparrows, who she fed longer and with frivolous rebukes. और राइटर कहते हैं कि यहाँ तक मेरे अराइवल के बाद भी हर हैप्पीएस्ट मोमेंट वर विद हर स्पैरोज व्हेन शी फीड द स्पैरोज. और वो उन्हें शी फेड लॉन्गर एंड विथ फ्रिवलेस रिब्यूक्स. फ्रिवलेस रिब्यूक्स जो एक्सप्रेशन है इस चैप्टर में, तो इट मीन्स द ग्रैंड मदर वुड कॉल द स्पैरोज लविंगली व्हेन दे सेट ऑन हर शोल्डर और एट टाइम्स हेड. मतलब वो ग्रैंड मदर स्पैरोज को प्यार से झिड़क देती थी. In the evening, a change came over her. She did not pray. She collected the women of neighborhood and got an old drum. So, in the evening, a change came over her. She seemed to be quite excited. She did not pray, and it was quite unusual. She collected the women of the neighborhood and she got an old drum and started to sing. So that was the first time that she forgot even to pray, and it was quite unusual for the grandmother to behave in that fashion. For several hours, she thumbed the sagging skin of the dilapidated drum and sang the homecoming of warriors. And we can see that grandmother was very happy at author's homecoming and she even skipped her prayers. The next morning, she was taken ill and it was a mild fever and the doctor told us that it would go. So what happened? Due to overexertion, she had fallen ill and the doctor told that it was a mild fever, but the grandmother thought differently. She did not think so. She told the author and her family that her end was near, and she said that since only a few hours before the close of last chapter of life she had omitted to pray, she was not going to waste any more time talking to us. So now the grandmother was not going to waste any more time talking to the family members. She only wanted to recite her prayers. She lay peacefully in bed, praying and telling her beads. Even before we could suspect, her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. A peaceful pallor spread on her face, and we knew that she was dead. And everybody protested about her thought, but she ignored all of them and she was in the bed lying peacefully and was reciting her prayers and was telling her rosary beads. Even before anybody could suspect, her lips stopped moving and the rosary beads fell from her lifeless hands, and a peaceful, pale expression was spread in her face, and everybody knew that she was dead. After her death, the writer and his family lifted grandmother's corpse, her dead body, off the bed, as it customary, laid her on the ground, and covered her with a red cloth. After a few hours of mourning, they left her alone to make arrangements for her funeral. Fine. उनके फ्यूनरल के लिए दाह संस्कार के लिए दे लेफ्ट हर डेड बॉडी अलोन इन द रूम. In the evening, we went to her room with a crude stretcher to take her to be cremated. The sun was setting and had lit her room and veranda with a blaze of golden light. We stopped halfway in the courtyard, all over the veranda and in her room, right up to where she lay dead and stiff, wrapped in the red shroud. Thousands of sparrows sat scattered on the floor, and there were no chirpings. Students, we know that the sparrows shared an intimate relationship with the author's grandmother. They mourned her death by positioning themselves at various places on the floor, from the veranda right up to where her body was placed. They kept silent and did not chirp even once. We felt sorry for the birds, and my mother fetched some bread for them. She broke it into little crumbs, the way my grandmother used to, and threw it to them. The sparrows took no notice of the bread. The sparrows also did not pay attention to the breadcrumbs that the author's mother brought for them. They were there, not for the breadcrumbs, but to express their sorrow for their loved one. When we carried away my grandmother's corpse off, they flew away quietly. Next morning, the sweeper swept the breadcrumbs into the dustbin. When the grandmother's body was taken away, sparrows rose and flew away silently. That's how they paid their last respect to the grandmother. And this shows how love and emotions is experienced not only by human beings but animals and birds too. The story also determines the fact that a person who is truly religious stays composed and calm, generous and kind-hearted. Grandmother was a truly religious person and had compassion for all. That's all for today's lesson. Goodbye. Jai Hind.